Hey guys, and welcome to a battle featuring Stormrunner in charge of the mighty High Elves up against Joe Jorah and the forces of the Empire. The last alliance of men and elves has fallen into complete chaos as these titans go toe to toe. Now there's a very specific reason I wanted to show this replay. We are going to in fact pause it off the gate to go through the builds quickly, and I'll get to the reason for showing this replay when we get to the Empire forces. So for the forces of the High Elves, however, we have cheap and cheerful spearmen dotted around in a lovely formation. You can see that it's kind of pushing cavalry and other units to the sides with more of a pointed kind of attack here, with the spearmen in the centre pockets and the rangers on the left and right hand side. We have triple archers as well in the centre pocket, and they're going to be rolling dirty with Alifanar, the Shadow King himself, and this is one of the matchups I think he is very viable in. He is going to bring in the Moonbow, as well as Mislead, Slippery, and Darken the Skies to increase the reload skill by 20, which is pretty impressive. He's going to be catching, of course, all of the nearby archers. So his main goal in this battle, of course, is going to be sniping out casters and taking out artillery pieces. For a mage, you do have a High Mage on a Chariot here, which is a pretty awesome pick. Coming in with Tempest. Let's actually go through all of these correctly, make sure I get all the names right. We have Apotheosis, Hand of Glory, Soul Quench, which can also be used to take down artillery pieces, and Tempest indeed. So in the kind of deep reserve here, we do have double silver helms with shields, as well as Rahagra's Pride, regiment of renowned war lions, who look incredibly ferocious and vicious, and do come with the Mighty Roar as well, which is an ability which slows and disencourages the enemy forces. They are really one of the best looking units in the game. It's pretty crazy stuff. In the far back here, we do have two, I'm going to say the name wrong here, Tyronic Chariots. These guys barely ever seen, so very excited to see how they perform. I actually recently cast a game with Ice Wolf Chariots, so people seem to like the light chariots at the moment, and they're certainly able to push into the back line and try to disrupt any enemy long range. So really fun build all round. Now, for the forces of the Empire, you can see a very different deployment here, with Flagellants in the front line dotted all the way along, so a ton of unbreakable troops, and I quite like this. They should be able to tear through spearmen relatively quickly. They are a little bit susceptible to missile fire, but they are unbreakable, so they're going to hold back the enemy and allow these heavy hitting units to really deal the damage. On either flank, we do have a couple units of halberdiers, and in the centre pocket, we do have 4 handgunners, which is quite a heavy investment, but if you can protect them, they can certainly do some mighty damage. Trying to protect them is going to be the Zintl's Reichsguard, regiment of renowned Reichsguard, who can hammer you home pretty hard, anti-infantry, but can also go toe-to-toe with silver helms and the like, rocking a mighty 120 armour and immune to psychology. And for the leadership here, we do indeed have a Jade Wizard coming in with just an Earthblood, and Volkmar the Grim on top of his mighty chariot, his moustache twirling majesty himself, will be pretty good. He's always good against elves in general, as he does come in with Grand Soulfire, Banishment, and of course the Jade Griffin to heal him up. He's certainly looking to run over some troops. Now, the last piece of equipment in the Empire build is going to be the Sunmaker Hellstorm Rocket Battery, and the reason I wanted to talk about this in particular in this build is deployment of artillery. I think here's a good example of not necessarily the best use of artillery, and I am also prone to doing this as well, so it's no kind of disrespect to the Empire player at all, but he's playing very close to the front line. So now if the High Elves do manage to break through this centre, they're going to be able to overrun it very quickly. However, you do have handgunners to support this, so maybe it's not too much of a problem. The biggest problem here, especially against High Elves, who are very likely to bring a ton of archers, the archers don't have to get too close to punish the Sunmaker. Sunmaker has a whopping 480 range, so dotting it back about here, it's still going to be able to hit the enemy for the majority of the battle, and archers will not be able to just simply walk up and shoot it down, as they'll be running into the front line of the unbreakable fanatics of Sigma. However, the Empire player may push forward here and kind of correct his mistake as we go, so we'll have to see. Hellstorm Rocket Battery does loose a few rockets here as the battle gets underway, doing some pretty huge damage instantly to Spearmen, and the Hellstorm Rocket Battery so good up against those tightly packed High Elf forces, and a lot more accurate as well than its regular non-regiment renowned counterpart. Alifanar is launching some shots into it. However, going to be trying to take down some models. It might even be worth shooting a Moonbow in there to really try and whittle them down quickly. But you can see the damage that thing is doing. The archers have taken an absolute pounding so far, up to 67 kills already, as another volley does come firing in. That one been a little bit more hit and miss in between the archers there, but one unit down to about half health and half morale already. It's already some pretty good work, and in comes another glorious volley, tearing through the archers and should be force them off here. So at this point, I think the Force of Empire do need to push forward, take the battle about this level, and then that will keep all the ranged units safe and a little bit further back and away from the main threat of the battlefield. As you can see, the archers have now walked in and are simply going to tear apart the Hellstorm incredibly quickly, and there's nothing the handgunners can do about it because they do, of course, lack the range to counterfire this, and within 1 or 2 volleys, the Sunmaker is going to be going down, but still fantastic value from it, 107 kills, but if it's able to use up all its ammunition, it could be pushing on the 200 mark. Spearmen are pushing forward and starting to engage. Looks like they are going to get the charge, but they're being counter-charged as well by Volkmar, who's perfectly happy to run over the Spearmen. Yes, they have anti-large, but Volkmar is mighty indeed, and he shall be able to run them over quite nicely. Handgunners are unleashing some shots into the front row. It looks like halberdiers as well have been kind of pushed out wide to try and protect them as much as possible. And it's got a nice dotted out formation. They should be able to crossfire and help each other out as well. Looks like the Jade Wizard is now the focus of attention from Alif-Anar, which is always a good target in my opinion. He can snipe down wizards rather effectively. It looks like the archers are going to be taking advantage here of the handgunners' lack of range and kind of tearing them apart from afar, but the Empire is now starting to get a bit aggressive, which I like to see, pushing forward, and there's nothing to protect these archers. The front line of the High Elves is relatively weak and battered by the Hellstorm rocket battery. However, it looks like the light chariots have managed to get into the back line, but not without paying the price. Shutting down 1 unit of handgunners, they basically have lost 1 of the chariots themselves, but now with 2 handgunners gone, if this 3rd unit doesn't turn and engage, it looks like the chariots will have free range off the back line, reaving their way through. However, good play on this right-hand side. The Empire player is sacrificing the Zintlers, but they are going to be holding back 3 units, allowing halberdiers to come in as well for a flank attack. Luckily for the High Elves, they did manage to notice this and pull back, but not before damage is done, losing 1 unit of Silver Helms here, but overall, the Zintlers have taken a bit of pounding as well. As for the front lines, it looks like Flagellants are tearing through even the Rangers here. Not doing too actually, 56 versus 58, so pretty close affair. But a lovely surround here as the High Elf front line is basically going to be completely broken, and an Earthblood is going down, healing up these troops. The Archer Corps has been pretty much shut down as well, as 1 unit is completely shattered and the other remaining unit is completely getting chewed upon, basically, as vows and oaths to Sigma are being ripped from the lips of these Flagellants as they tear apart the archers. It looks like Volkmar as well, getting pretty happy, up to 51 kills. Could try to snipe out Alif-Anar, who's trying his best to take down Volkmar. Problem is, against Volkmar, especially for Alif-Anar, is that regeneration, and big Moonbow shot coming in though, giving him some okay damage as well. A big banishment is going to be coming down on these archers and spearmen to help finish them off, as Volkmar seeks the Alif-Anar booty. Looks like we do have a lot of handgunners rallying back to the cause, but Silver Helms now have free reign, dancing around the back lines, going to be able to shut down the handgunners with relative ease. There's still some halberdiers rocking around and some Empire infantry in general, and it looks like the chariots are pretty much spent as well. Zintlers Reichsguard in place, and the halberdiers to do the dirty work and chew them down. It looks like a second unit as well coming in to pin them in. They may be able to escape just about, but taking huge damage as they do so. Rahagra's Pride as well is going to be darting in and trying to feast tonight. Alif-Anar is trying his best. He's popped Slippery. He wants to escape this as much as possible. Looks like he is currently going toe-to-toe with Volkmar, who's going to be very happy to take this engagement all round. He'll certainly be able to outdraw Alif-Anar. 2 very different toolkits. Looks like some archers are rallying to the field here, and honestly, the Flagellants are a pretty good bet for them as well, as they have 0 armour, so archers will tear apart. And the mage as well is having an absolute whale of a time, rolling through the enemy, up to 43 kills already. Haven't seen too much magic played, but I'm sure it's been going on in the peripheries. And it looks like Alif-Anar has been terrified at this point and is going to be routing from the field. I think it's pretty key at this point to chase them off, break the leadership of the enemy, and then use Volkmar's terror in the late game to seal a victory. In the distance, some of the chariots have returned to the field, but they don't have too many good targets left. They've already kind of done the dirty work they needed to do in shattering all of the handgunners from the field, and there's a very fast, mobile core still left for the High Elves, despite the fact the majority of their infantry has been completely demolished here. Mage of Life is going toe-to-toe with Volkmar here, but is going to quickly turn those horses around and run for the hills. Volkmar is not to be messed with. However, Alefnar does rally and has popped down a little decoy as well, so if his opponent's not paying too much attention, Alefnar might be able to get in there and slow him down. And it looks like he's going to be used in the way I like to see him used, which is you switch him to combat mode, charge him in, and pin in enemy troops. Looks like we do have some holy fire raining from the skies, but a little bit early click there. It's not actually going to hit any of the enemies from Volkmar still. Up to 57 kills. Driving back Silver Helms as well is always pretty good work. Looks like we do have a Soul Punch coming in. Did some pretty nice damage actually. Up to 96 kills now. That's quite a big jump for the mage. Doing some pretty awesome damage. And now, as you can see, the map dominance is certainly in the High Elf favour. However, if the Empire can kind of form a bit of a death blob around these unbreakable troops and whittle down the Silver Helms with their anti-large ones as well, perhaps Volkmar can yet carry. He certainly wants to start hunting down Alefnar and force him off the field to help with the kind of leadership into the late game. Looks like we do have a fat banishment coming down. It is going to tear through both friend and foe. Silver Helm's taking a bit of a beating here as well, getting rather low, and a nicer formation as well from the Halberdiers here. Going very tight can actually help up against cavalry, as they can't push through you as much. You see the chariot actually starting to struggle a little more. So there is precedence for going kind of smaller and tighter. It's quite tough in Warhammer in particular because of all the amount of magic damage that can come in that can affect kind of tightly packed formations. But if you're trying to slow down the enemy, going quite tightly packed is nice to see. Volkmar is going to be feasting on the Rohagros Pride now as well. He cares little for their mighty roar, of course being unbreakable and inspiring the nearby troops. He's actually going to terrify the Rohagros Pride for themselves and drive them from the battle. And this is an incredibly closely fought battle so far, going into the coming up to the 8th minute, and it's still been dead even in balance of power. And another glorious soul quench coming by that mage, up to 135 kills. One of the MVPs in the late era of the game. He's going to be driving down at the Halberdiers now, and they're all getting very low and beat up at this point. But still, Volkmar rocking over 2,700 health. Ammunition is getting danger low for the High Elf forces, and Alefnar himself has completely run out. Looks like the Silver Helms are just about spent as well. Archer fire kind of from two different angles, which is always good to see. They're certainly going to be hard to hunt down. Looks like they're actually going after the very lowly armoured fanatics of Sigmar, although looks like the Halberdiers are unfortunately putting their lives on the line to try and protect them at this point. So it looks like Volkmar is trying to decide where to go, and at this point he doesn't have too many perfect targets. Best bet for him is to kind of assassinate Alefnar, and then he just has the mage to deal with it realistically as one of the only units that can slow him down. We have rallying archers over on this flank, but they're pretty much done for. Looks like the decoy is going to be getting in here, trying to slow down Volkmar, but Volkmar is quite happily going to roll by him at this point and just dive into the archers. Looks like the archers are going to go toe-to-toe. Oh no, they're terrified by his mere presence. And once again, it looks like the Soulfire used a little bit early. I think that's been a little bit of a misplay from Volkmar, and simply wait for all these units to bunch up on him before he does indeed use it. But he's looking incredibly healthy at the moment. The mage does have decent AP on the chariot, and it looks like an Apotheosis is going to be healing up Alefnar as well if he comes into combat. I wonder if you can heal up the decoy of Alefnar. I mean, it'd be completely pointless. I'm just wondering if it's actually possible to do. Hand of Glory has been popped on Aleph as well, increasing his melee attack by 24 to allow him to get some more hits into Volkmar. And Volkmar's health is chunking down pretty strong here, with the mage coming in and doing some massive work on her chariot. Silver Helms are running from the field. They do not care for their liege lord in this situation, deciding to run for their lives. But the Hand of Glory and Slippery making Alefnar a bit of a deadly combatant here, and Volkmar is getting chunked very, very quickly. This is incredibly close at this point. The mage is going to be popping an Apotheosis once more as well, keeping Alefnar fighting down to just 500 health, however. But a lovely little roll in attack animation as he does dart past the horses, who are honestly putting in the hard work. Volkmar's just kind of chilling and waving his little staff around. But with the two single entities going after him, he has been chunked down very quickly. I'm incredibly impressed by this hero core. Alefnar has been terrified off, however, and Volkmar is going to be hunting down the mage now. But if another Hand of Glory can come down on the eve of these characters, I think they may be able to overrun Volkmar. I'm very impressed with the damage output here of the two units. Alefnar does jump in, but immediately gets flattened, but apotheosis as well and healed up. Perhaps it's better to go after the mage in this situation to get the magic off the field. The Hand of Glory has been popped on Aleph, and it looks like the Empire player is actually going to throw in the Tau. I think he was pretty much done for at this point, as the mage, I think, could have finished off the last bit of health by Volkmar, but at the end of the day, he just about survives to escape and live another day. So an incredibly Pyrrhic victory. Just 3 models left on the field. Very well played to Stormrunner and Joe Jora. A really entertaining game. Massive shout out to Stormrunner for sending this one in as well via my Discord. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe. And feel free to comment as well on what you thought of the battle and my points on deployment. And well played, by the way, to Joe Jora. I was a little bit harsh on his deployment at the beginning, but I do this as well all the time, and perhaps he just didn't expect the archers. But the Sunmaker's still got fantastic value, 107 kills, but if it's simply placed a little bit further back, then you spread out the handgunners around it a little bit more to allow some crossfire, I think you can get a lot better kind of bang for your buck, I suppose, as far as the artillery goes, especially when facing a force like the High Elves, who bring in those long-range archers and can really punish artillery crews in general. So I think that's a note for like up against most forces. At the same time, you do need to fall back and protect them. You saw his formation was very kind of flat, and that allowed the High Elves to kind of just focus in the centre pocket to begin with, at least. But yeah, there's a bit of give and take as well. As you saw, the Empire did manage to push into the back line and shut down the archers rather quickly as well for the High Elves. Still very impressive stuff. Massive kills across the board for the Silver Helms. 163 and 118 kills is pretty crazy, and it's always awesome to see these light chariots in action. I think it was Talaxlan's Soothsayer who started using the little goblin ones, which actually made kind of people's eyes light up a little bit. And they use them a little bit more now. They're very quick and good at shutting down the back line. Managed to do some awesome damage to the handgunners. Took a lot of damage in return as well, but it was certainly worth the cost. The real MVP here for me is, of course, the Mage of High Magic. 143 kills and saving a lot of those winds of magic for the late game, allowing Alethnar and herself to take down the mighty Volkmar. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed. Peace, and as always, stay awesome.